your journey through cinema seems to be that you were attracted to the subversive quality. You liked the kids on the playground who could watch movies that you weren't yet allowed to watch. And they got some like social capital almost out of being able to gather the kiddies around the sandbox and tell them about all the things that were happening in the adult world. And you seem to have had this interest in the forbidden in film. And it seems now still that you are attracted to things that are somewhat inaccessible, that are difficult to wrangle. In my view, frankly, literally difficult to tell what's going on the screen. What is that? What is that? Are you just kind of a little bit of a contrarian, Leslie?
No, I hate that word more than any word in the English language. Anytime I hear someone use the word...
That's such a contrarian thing to say.
No, anytime I hear the word contrarian come out of someone's mouth, my esteem for them just drops a tad.
See, here we go.
I hate the word because it doesn't mean anything. Because, first of all, 90% of the time, it just means like you don't like what white people, middle class, suburban white people like. Like, that's it. Like, what else could it possibly mean? Because, like, what?
Leslie, it's us here. It's just you and me talking.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about you, but in general, like I don't think, like, because, like, liking anything that's, like, black would be contrarian because nothing that black people like is the most popular thing except for maybe Black Panther.
That's not true.
Well,
Leslie,
but, I mean, not
people
everything,
love Will Smith and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And white people love that Cosby. White people love that stuff too.
They like some of that stuff, but they don't like most of our stuff, or like 99% of our stuff. Like, if I said my favorite rapper was like Lil Wayne or something like that, is that contrarian?
No, it's not.
I mean, like. It would be
liking obscure horror films.
Well, not my favorite rapper. If I said my favorite musician, okay, of all time, was like a black rapper. If I said it was, I don't know, like Spice One, right? Like, would that be like barely anybody knows who Spice One is?
But I wouldn't call that contrarianism. No, it's what's contrarian is you seem to have an appetite for things that you know are already kind of marked as forbidden, either because they have an R rating and you're literally a child and not allowed to watch it, or they're like not mainstream horror films. They are the kind of things that come out on box sets and you're looking at commercials on the Saturday morning cartoons or whatever. You're not telling me about how much you fell in love with it as a child, something that was a popular movie that a lot of people liked.
Oh, I loved it.
Right, but your story, I didn't tell the story. I'm putting the threads that you just dropped to me in the last 15, 20 minutes. So it was the R-rated films of the Sandbox, and then this box set that your parents sent away for you. It's the fact that you walked into your dad.
It's not a pay-per-view. It's a pay-per-view. It's just a
pay-per-view. Okay. You walked into your dad watching this skeleton movie that you weren't supposed to be watching either. And it seems to me you don't hear yourself saying that there's something subversive about all of these moments.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with being contrarian? Contrarian is about like reacting to something, like saying I like something because other people don't like it, or vice versa.
You don't
like
think there's a little bit of that in you?
How would I know if people like Evil Dead or not? If I'm fine, like as far as I know, everybody likes like horror movies. Like I wasn't like when the kids were telling me on the playground, everybody wanted to hear about Freddy Krueger. Like we all loved Freddy Krueger. Like everybody, like it was popular. Like how was that? It wouldn't have been contrarian. It was like popular to be into that stuff.
Did you have siblings? Do you have siblings?
Yeah.
How close in age are they to you?
Oh, I have one. Well, I don't want to dox like my family or anything. Like I don't want like that. Like that's getting a little too
how many do you have? Can I ask the number of siblings you have?
Yeah, I have 3. I don't. Okay. I don't really talk about my family.
Okay. On all right. Shows. Okay. My point is that I'm just was curious about the extent to which other people, like your siblings, similarly had the same taste as you, or if they were all, I don't know, spending their time in the 80s getting jerry curls and wearing polo shirts and doing a preppy sort of a thing, while you were being kind of like alternative and liking kind of like off the radar movies and getting into nerd culture. But or was the whole family that way?
But like you don't have to do either or. Like you could like Pritz and horror movies. Like my family like did both. Like it's not one or the other. Like Nightmare. I thought Nightmare on Elm Street was fairly a popular thing, and Hellraiser is like a very popular movie. It's like in the 80s, especially. Like if you liked horror, you liked those movies. Those movies made a lot of money. It's not really contrarian, but it's like, I guess I was young for it, but that's stuff I was always interested in. I always liked stuff that was a little bit more darker, a little bit more mature, but that's not like being contrarian. That's just my taste.
Are there any romantic comedies that you would say are like on your list of top 20 best movies?
Probably not. Probably not. I don't really like romantic comedies.
What about comedies?
Comedies? Clue. I love Clue. I love Clue a lot.
Okay. What's your sign again?
Leo.
Oh yeah, you're like, oh, I don't want to dox. No, it's on the internet. You're like the 18th, right? August 18th?
Yes.
I just looked at that today, actually, because I was on your profile inviting you to come on the show. All right. Look, I don't think it's bad to be contrarian either. I do, like, I think a lot of analytical people, if you enjoy the process of analysis for analysis' sake, which sometimes I do, like I enjoy the process of figuring a thing out, then sometimes content that comes too easy and doesn't have any mystery isn't stimulating to you in a way that content that you have to parse is. Like, I just watched that new Benedict Cumberbatch movie with Jesse Plimpton and his wife, Kirsten Dunst, in it. The Power of the Dog.
Power of the Dog.
Yeah. And like, you haven't seen it, so I won't belabor the point. I'm not going to spoil it. But those listeners who have seen it, you know, I appreciate a movie like that, even though it wasn't like the most entertaining while I'm watching it. It's a kind of slow, atmospheric film. The end, and the fact that I felt radically different about who the protagonists were and what happened 20 minutes after the film ended than I did 5 minutes before it concluded. It made it, I don't know, it was like an enjoyable experience for a different reason. But, however, I will say my general attitude toward film in particular is that I want it to be, there's like a sweet spot of stupid that I want. I don't want it to be so stupid that I'm insulted that I'm watching it and like I'm not being taken seriously as a viewer, like I'm not being respected by the filmmaker. But I want it to be sort of dumb. So to me, Something's Gotta Give is like literally a perfect movie.
Well, you know, that's a preference, but I would say that most people would not agree that Something's Gotta Give is a perfect movie. And does that make you a contrarian?
No, because I actually think that many people would agree with me that Something's Gotta Give is a perfect movie.
But many people call Blade Runner a perfect movie. Perhaps more than Something's Gotta Give. I would have to check the numbers.
I would disagree.
You would
I think the Blade Runner people are louder.
Wait. We can run the numbers on this. See, I'm a pro over there at IMDb. They know me. I can crunch these numbers right quick. So Blade Runner has an 8.1 rating with 741,000 votes. Wow. Ooh. Something's Gotta Give 6.7 with only 119,000 votes.
Oh yeah, and in the IMDb rating, the Rotten Tomato ratings really said that no one liked Dave Chappelle's latest stand-up show on Netflix.
Well, like, look, that's neither here. Well, I'm not saying I would swear by on the Bible, but if we're talking about contrarian, I think criticizing Blade Runner is more contrarian than criticizing Something's Gotta Give, which I think is a great movie.
I agree because critics herald Blade Runner. So me criticizing Blade Runner because I know it is a pop culture classic is 100% me being contrarian. It's not ever contrarian to critique something that women like, because in our society, there's a default presumption that nothing that's poppy and romantic and cheesy or whatever that is like geared to the feminine taste buds, those are supposed to be criticized.
But it's
contrarian for me to say I don't care about football or watch the Super Bowl because I'm supposed to like it because men. It is not contrarian to say I don't like Kim Kardashian's show, even though millions of people are consuming it every day.
Well, here's the thing.
Know what I mean?
Why call it contrarian? Are you saying you don't like Blade Runner because people like it? But I know that I'm contrarian by saying I don't like it. I guess I just don't agree with that. With that use of the word, because most people mean contrarian, meaning you are deliberately trying to go against the grain, as opposed to just your opinion happens to be against the grain, which I mean you have no real control over. I don't think as far as.
No, I think that there is subconsciously at times a personality type that enjoys a kind of having a little bit of a different opinion. Like I like mainstream movies, right? I also know that I have some opinions that are not so mainstream, and I get a little bit of delicious delight at times of advertising my taste. Like controversially, and people are going to be mad, I'm one of 3 Americans that enjoyed the movie Crash. I liked Crash. I don't understand why everyone hates Crash so much. And I get a little thrill saying that because I know how angry it's going to make people. It is true. I don't like Crash because it makes people angry. I like Crash because I just liked Crash. What can I say? I liked Crash. This is what's going to take me down. Me saying I like Crash 5 times in a 60-second period of time.
Yeah, I don't know if I liked Crash. I watched it once and I think about it after the fact. I think if I watched it now, I would like it a lot less. But I don't know. I like if I say I like something or dislike something, that's just my job as a critic. It's not like I don't get a pleasure out of saying I dislike something that people like or like something that people dislike, because usually those people mean like, you know, mainstream middle class white people. Usually, like, that's usually the default opinion of, and on the internet, it's like the default opinions are also like really like blinkered by internet culture. Like, you would think a show like Euphoria is the most popular show on TV when it gets like barely any viewers. Like, you've been on streams that gets more viewers than Euphoria live. You know what I'm saying? Like no one watches that show, but on the internet it's all the time. But a show like Yellowstone, which gets 10 million viewers, no one on the internet even knows exists, right?
Yeah, so and similarly, I think that if you got Netflix numbers for how many people watch Something's Gotta Give in a given week versus how numbers of how many people watch Blade Runner in a given week, Something's Gotta Give is getting a lot more clicks.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I don't know about that. I think that's a little bit more. That's not quite apples to oranges, but as far as like but like I love Yellowstone, but no one on the internet does. Is that contrarian if I say Yellowstone is great and people are like,
because you live on the internet? That doesn't make
you
know it is.
That's nonsensical. That makes no sense to me. Like I'm sorry, that's just
it's for your group. If I'm in middle America sitting around talking about how much, like, you know, I don't know, I can't vote for, you know, a Democrat because trans women in sports just make me scratch my head, then that's not a contrarian take there. If I go to Berkeley and sit in the middle of my women's studies course and say that, I know that's a hot take.
But
like, it's context dependent.
I guess I don't. So why does it matter if your take is contrarian or not? If it's just,
it doesn't,
like, because most people
I put no value judgment on the word contrarian.
I think 90%. I think not the vast majority of the time I hear people use it. There is a value judgment in it. I guess I don't know what's the point of saying the word if it's just contextual, because I mean, what context are we having this conversation in?
Because my next step would be to interrogate what it is about one's personality that makes them have an appetite for being a little bit of a gadfly. And I just say that not in a blaming or judgmental way. I gave an example of myself relishing. I admit to having that aspect of my own personality. I have an appetite for fight. It's what makes me able to kind of do what I do. And it makes me want to have a show with T, you know, where T and you and people come on and say like the Beatles ain't all that, because I know what we're doing. You know what we're doing.
Wait, no. When I came on the show, it was because I wanted to talk to other Black people about that cultural feeling of like not being heard, about not being felt, about being constantly told that, you know, whatever, you know, is popular in white culture. Again, the default view is number one. That's why that was what I was interested in.
Yes, but you don't know. You and I, we all know what the reaction is going to be, because we did the show in part because there was a reaction already happening on YouTube. I'm sorry, on Twitter. Was it your tweet or was it T's tweet?
It was my tweet, but like, just because people have deranged reactions to things online, like, I don't think I bear any responsibility for like doing my job as a critic when I review a movie, right? Like, I was reviewing a movie for my job, which I did an episode on the movie. Like, I like, my comments were like that. They were just like me doing my job. I wasn't like expecting or engendering or trying to like get some feral reaction from people. Like I was just kind of talking honestly about what I felt about the movie. And like that's that's my vibe. That's kind of what I'm interested. Like it wasn't trying to get this or that reaction because a lot of the reactions are like scary and sad and disappointing. I don't like it being revealed that people are that unsophisticated about things. It really like is depressing a lot of times.
Leslie, the reason they call it a take is not because it is conventional wisdom. Nobody says, I got a take today. America is the world's biggest superpower. America is the richest country in the world. Hot take. It's not a take unless there's something novel to it. That unless there's something that most people haven't observed, even if they don't necessarily disagree, but most people haven't observed. There has to be the novelty to it. And so oftentimes that novelty in the media sphere has to do with saying something a little bit subversive. And it's not to say that you're doing it just to get clicks or just to be difficult, but it's trying to add something to the conversation and see something from a new angle that helps everyone to understand the cultural context more. And to me, it's not being contrarian. I'm not saying that not you or anybody else is trying to bring down the discourse or cause trouble just to be causing trouble. But I do think we have to acknowledge that there's an element of relishing a point of view that is at least so novel as to cause a degree of controversy, because it's a credit to our analytical ability to have come up with that kind of innovation in the first place. No?
No, that's not how I view it at all. Like I feel like what I'm adding to the conversation is a voice from someone who does not get a voice in these conversations. People from the 70805, one of the poorest, zip codes in the country, like don't get a voice. And that's why I approach things from a different perspective and have opinions that are outside the mainstream, because I come from a different place than the white suburban middle class background that 95% of the people giving opinions on this type of media have. Like that is what I bring to it. It's not like is who I am is what's different and is why I approach these things differently.
Did you watch Euphoria?
No, I think I saw half an episode.
What would you say is a popular show right now that everyone seems to be liking?
Yellowstone. Yellowstone is the biggest show on TV. Yellowstone.
In your internet context, what's a popular show that everyone seems to be watching?
Internet show. I don't know what's the last one. I don't know what the last one is popping. I can't think of one. What have you been watching? Because most people I've been talking to, people have been watching The Sopranos, I've
been watching The Sopranos.
Yeah,
I've been watching Euphoria. I've been watching Love at First Sight, Married at First Sight.
Oh,
whichever
I saw some
the one
of that.
is when they're in the booths. Both. I mean, I watched both of them. I
haven't seen that many people talking about that one, but I have seen a couple episodes, about half an episode of those.
Do you like that kind of content? Do you watch reality TV often?
Oh yeah, I love Housewives.
Which one is your favorite franchise?
Oh, Beverly Hills.
Interesting. Wait, isn't that? I don't think I've watched Beverly Hills.
Yeah, it's the most popular one. It's the highest rated one.
Who's the women on that one?
Erica Jane, Kim.
Oh, that's Beverly Hills. I thought that was the original one. That's like a kind of Orange County. That's not Orange County?
No, that's not Orange County. That's like Gilead. That's like the Republican Christo-fascist one. The Beverly Hills one are and you got Garcelle now. You had Denise Richards was on it. Oh, Garcelle, they broke her this season. They broke her.
I want more for her.
They broke her this season. Sadly.
When I was a little girl, I thought she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. When she was on the Jamie Foxx show, to me, she was always been the paragon of beauty. Just the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. Oh yeah,
still gorgeous. Still brings the fashion too. She's usually in one of the better outfits.
Yeah, whenever the real people who have a name in the real world join one of those shows, it makes me sad. I want more for them. But okay, so you like reality TV broadly speaking. You don't have to give an explanation for why you like the Beverly Hills ladies, because they're just excellent at drama. The Kyle Kim dynamic, what's the British one with all the restaurants?
Oh, Lisa Vanderpump.
Lisa
Yes, yeah.
Vanderpump, she is a franchise in and of herself. You don't have to explain it. I'm interested in your interest in the kind of romantic married at first sight style shows.
Oh, I don't have interest. I just saw some of it. I'm not that interested in Married at First Sight. No.
What's the difference?
What do you mean? It just doesn't seem as appealing to me as The Housewives. It's just, I don't know. Like, there's so many shows. I have to pick which ones I watch. Just the Married at First Sight one is not the thing I'm going to put on.
Well, what I was trying to figure out was the extent to which you have a opinion that's very much in line with what the general consensus is about a show that's being discussed on the internet. So like Dune or Euphoria or one of these things that there's like a week-long cycle, the Sex and the City show. You know, there's a week-long cycle where there's basically a consensus about how everyone feels about something.
Well, Elden Ring, I think is more talked about than almost anything else online. And I'm firmly with the consensus on that one.
I'm afraid I just can't weigh in there, Leslie.
But you don't have to weigh in. It's just like that's.
I believe you. I can't opine when if you say so is basically what I guess what I'm saying. If you say so,
like,
but I know nothing of that, so I'm afraid I don't know what to say. I struggle with this because especially in the context of like let's say the last week's news cycle, and I don't love calling like a war a news cycle. But it does feel like the left is being consumed by a desire to align takes, whereas most people, if they were being honest with themselves, know very little about the geopolitical circumstances that led to this moment and are all playing catch up. And to the extent that people are trying to understand, there's just no tolerance for figuring it out. Like I was going to say asking questions, but then people make a parody of the idea of just asking questions. Like that's nefarious in and of itself.
Yes.
And that's part of the issue. It's like, I found it to be difficult to even try to understand what the different positions were. Because it was a lot of, you're stupid for thinking this and you're stupid for thinking that. And you're an op and you work for the State Department and the exchanges between people that I like were all those kind of ad hominems. And so I literally couldn't even tell what the grounding position was that was so offensive from either person for like ages. I had to do double the amount of research to find out why somebody was calling something than I would if they just had a good faith exchange about why it is, in which they articulated what it is that each other believed and steelmanned what each other's believed and explained why they didn't believe that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the internet is not like a very good place to have any kind of reasonable discussion in general. And this week has shown like what a mess it's been. Like it's gotten like it's so dark. It's like even like the countries themselves are like posting memes and stuff. Like it's completely silly and it's like it's unworthy of like what's actually happening.
And I also feel as though silence is not an option either.
I think for a lot of people, it should be. For a lot of people, yes, for a lot of people, they should be quiet if they don't know.
It should be, but there's sometimes an implication, like I get all the time, like, why haven't you talked about this? Why haven't you talked about that? As though like I'm sitting around thinking, oh, I heard we dropped bombs in Somalia, but I'm not going to talk about that on the show because I hate Somalians. Like, and it's like, well, one, I don't know what I'm talking about. Two, the show comes out twice a week and editorial decisions have to be made. I'm not a daily news show. And I think the tiring part isn't people's frustration because I understand being frustrated and we all have our hobby horses and I appreciate wanting to hear yours addressed. But the implication that everything that is not, every like omission is nefarious. Or every misunderstanding is because you're being paid by NATO or like whatever it is, I don't know. I'm not trying to make you my therapist. I apologize.
You're always being my therapist asking me why I like horror movies. I don't know. I like being scared. Do you not like being scared?
No, I had a partner where we had different taste in films, But the place where we came together was horror movies. And it's not like I wouldn't say I especially like horror movies. And I don't think he would have said he especially liked horror movies. But it was something that we both enjoyed enough that we ended up almost exclusively watching horror movies together. And, early in our courtship, Midsommar came out. And we went to see, that's how it kind of started. We saw Midsommar together. And then he was like, have you seen Hereditary? And I was like, no. And we came home and we watched Hereditary on the laptop. And I was like, this was a lot. This was too much. I'm going to have to sleep with a doll for the next week. And then we got into it and I started watching all these weird, have you seen this movie, Boy? It's about a doll. It's like a Hallmark budget horror movie that is so much better than its budget.
No, I haven't heard of it.
It's about it. It's like a woman is babysitting. A young woman gets hired to like some British country house to babysit. And when she gets there, she finds out it's an older couple that wants her to babysit a doll.
Oh, The Boy. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that one. I think I may have seen that one.
I thought it was excellent. And then that that Apple TV show came out. That's like the same plot, sort of, but it's a woman who has lost her child young, and it's not clear. It takes a while for us to find out at the end of the first season what happened. It's the M. Night Shyamalan flick series. And so she gets a fake baby and someone is hired to take care of the baby. And it's also fake, but like mysterious things are happening. And there's all this ambiguity about whether or not there's like something mystical afoot. And is the child actually real? And all of this like suspense around that. So I am attracted to those kind of films, those kind of thrillery, psychological thriller style horror movies. I like them. I don't know what to say. I do like them. It's not necessarily my first choice, though. My first choice is to be comatose watching a couple being set up at the altar that has very obvious personality conflicts, and it's never going to work. And watching it crash and burn.
See, I can't stand those movies. I'm not a fan of the romantic comedy or romantic comedy formula. But that's just like who I am. That's just like me. That's just like my taste. I don't know if you can dig any deeper than that, because not everybody likes romantic comedies. In fact, most people probably don't, if you crunch the numbers. But that's you. And but I prefer horror, science fiction. But it's like, I don't really think of that as being like, that's just being me. That's not like being contrarian, because everybody has their own unique taste. I don't think there's anyone that really is 100% mainstream except for someone very boring.
Judgment.
Well,
you just then admitted that you think there is something valuable in not liking mainstream things.
I just saying it couldn't be. No, I say it couldn't be possible that everything you like a person whose favorite restaurant is McDonald's, their favorite movie is Star Wars, their favorite TV show is, I don't know, what's the most How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother. I just don't think that's possible. I don't think that's really.
Leslie, there's millions music, of that person.
Their favorite of that person. I don't believe so. I feel like most people. There's
millions of Americans whose favorite restaurant is McDonald's, whose favorite show is How I Met Your Mother, and whose favorite movie is Star Wars. 100%.
I guess I just don't hang out with these people.
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. Just a reminder that this is a podcast. You can catch an extra premium episode every Monday for $5 a month at patreon.com/badfaithpodcast. That's patreon.com/badfaithpodcast for $5 a month, an extra episode every week. Additionally, please do consider liking this video, subscribing to this channel. It helps us out. It helps independent media beat the algorithm. We appreciate you. And as always, keep the faith.